Hi everyone, I am Kim Wyatt. I'm a nationally certified Pilates teacher here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I own a home-based studio called Pilates by Kim, where I hold small group classes on reformer and tower. I also have private clients as well. And I'm also a certified level 3 melt method instructor. Today, I'm going to talk about bridging. Now, if you've taken a Pilates mat class or even a yoga class, also a Pilates equipment class, chances are you've done some version of a bridge. Now, in the Pilates method and in the yoga world, there are bridges that are actually exercises. They have their own names. I'm not talking about those today. I'm talking about a bridge that you might do either as a movement assessment, as a warm-up before your practice, or just something you're doing on your own to strengthen the back line a little bit more. The two types of bridging we're going to talk about are an articulated bridge and a flat back bridge. Those are just the basic two types that you can do. So the first one we're going to talk about is an articulated bridge. So just like any other bridge, you're going to start lying on your back. Knees are bent, feet are flat, arms down by your side. And you want to try and start in as neutral pelvis as possible. We talked about our pelvic positioning in a previous video, so if you save your emails from me, go back and check that out. But just as a reminder, neutral pelvis is defined as your pubic bone and those two front hip bones, your ASIS bones, being on the same horizontal plane. But for me, if you're going by feel, it just feels like your tailbone's a little more weighted and that there's a small lift of space in your low back. All right, so you're not in some extreme arch in your back, and you're also not in an extreme tuck, like you're not really grabbing in. It's somewhere in the middle. So you want to start in that more neutral spine position. I'm going to take one hand behind my head just so you can, or up over my head so you can see the movement a little bit better. To go into articulated bridge, the first thing I'm going to do is go into that pelvic tuck. So I'm going to feel my belly drawing towards my spine. I'm going to feel my pubic bone kind of tip more towards the head side, and then I'm going to start to peel my spine off the mat bone by bone. All right, that's an idea more than it's a thing. And then I'm just going to go to wherever I can. So this doesn't have to be the highest hip lift you do, but what I am doing in the articulated bridge is I'm keeping that tail curl constant. I'm also watching my knees. Did they splay out? I want them to stay more in line with my shoulders. I'm going to keep that tail curl going. It's a pretty intense sensation. And then as I roll down, it's a continual tail curl as I roll down, bone by bone by bone, and then I go back into neutral pelvis. I'll do that again. So the first thing we do in an articulated bridge is we go into that pelvic tuck. And then we think about peeling the spine off the mat, like you're picking up a strand of pearls off a countertop, right? So notice when I'm up here, I'm not popping my ribs, right? And my ribs are staying pretty low. What I really am trying to do is clear out this hip crease and get more length. And actually today I may not be doing that. It's early in the day. I'm not super warmed up. And then we lower down bone by bone by bone. So the most important thing in that articulated bridge is to keep that continual tail curl all the way up and then all the way down, bone by bone by bone. Okay. Now, in contrast, a flat back or a hinging bridge doesn't have that articulation, right? So I'm going to take one arm behind me. So I have this little hip crease here, right? My feet are still in line with my sit bones. My knees are still in line with my shoulders. But instead of articulating, I'm just going to think press into my feet and lift my hips and try and keep my back as straight and flat as possible. I might not get up what I think is high enough, but that's not the point. To come out of it, I want to just bend at this hip crease. So I just fold at that hip crease and I bring everything down in one piece. We'll do that again. So I'm just pressing into my feet and I'm lifting my spine up more like a flat back, and there isn't that aggressive tail curl. And then to come out of it, I'm just breaking at the hip and coming back down. Now, something I see quite a bit in any bridging situation is popping the ribs or really trying to go for more height and not really working on the technique or not really emphasizing that it's the opening of the hip. So I'll show you what I see sometimes is people get to a certain point, they're restricted by their hip flexors or their hamstrings, but they think, oh, I got to get my hips higher. And so it becomes this. All right. Now from there, I'm doing a lot of work. I'm arching my low back. I'm popping my ribs. This is no longer like a bridge or a glute exercise. I mean, my glutes are doing something, right? But I'm really like trying to get height, but look where the height is coming from. All right. And then when they roll down, like they can still kind of have the arch in the back and they still kind of come out of it like that. So I'll do that again. Sometimes you got to do it wrong to do it right. All right. So just if somebody who's thinking like, I got to get up super, super high, they'll get to a certain point. That was more of a flat back. And then, you know, if somebody's cueing higher and higher, this is what they'll do. They'll pop their ribs up, but their pelvis or their hips haven't really changed that much. And then coming back down. I would rather you work on opening the hip crease than going for more height. So many days when I'm doing an articulated bridge, here I'm trying to open up that hip crease. I'm thinking reach my knees over my toes, and I'm also trying to stay evenly weighted down into my feet, and I'm keeping my knees more in line with my shoulders. So there's quite a bit of inner thigh work going on here. And again, curling the tail and trying to open this up, my ribs have really stayed pretty low to the mat. And then keeping that tail curl going, I lower down and down and down, right? So what you might want to look for in a more flat back bridge. So we start in that neutral, you press into your feet and you lift your hips up. So let's say there's no tail curl involved. Well, to activate a little bit more back line, really focus on pressing straight down into your feet, narrowing that knee angle so you feel a little bit more of that inner thigh engagement, and then maybe think, drag your heels closer to your seat. It's an idea more than a thing. It's not really moving anything, but it is activating more in that back leg line without me lifting my hips any higher or popping my ribs, and then you just break at the hips and come back down. Okay. Another thing that I see people do that, I don't know, it's probably because it's hard. All right. We get up in there, their hamstrings cramp, but I'll just see this. I'll see lifting up and then coming right back down, lifting and lowering right back. Like right about the time they're going to feel that work, they come right out of it. And it's worth coming up here and pausing and saying, can I fine tune that? Can I tuck my pelvis if you're doing the articulated? Can I narrow my knee angle? And it's not super comfortable, all right? But you are building some strength and endurance in the back of the legs there, in that back leg line, and then you come all the way back down. And of course, after you do a series of those, it might feel good to really hug your knees into your chest or do a little windshield wiper. Side to side there. And then coming all the way up. So those are two ways to do a bridge, just basic fundamental ways to do a bridge. And I hope that helps you. Look, the most important thing, if you're thinking, how do I know which bridge is right for me? Practice both of them and see which one makes the most sense for your body. And it can be different on different days. Some days, an articulated bridge might feel good. Other days, that flat back bridge might be your best thing. So you have options now. You don't have to do one or the other. You can do both on any given day. You can do one at the beginning of class and one at the end of class. So I hope that helps you make good choices for your body, and I will see you in the next video.